Hi, so it's time for Back in the Library and to celebration of Black History Month. We're going to read two stories. One is Jump at the Sun. It's the true life tale of unstoppable story catcher Zora Neale Hurston, and the other one is Change Sings, a children's anthem by Amanda Gorman. The words, the pictures are by Lauren Long. So let's get reading. Jump at the Sun. So looks like the fox is jumping at the sun, and so is Zora. And here it is. Jump at the sun. In a town called Eatonville, a place where magnolias smelled even prettier than they looked, oranges were as sweet as they were plump, and the people just plain old got along, lived a girl who was attracted to tails like mosquitoes to skin. There she is. Zora was her name. Zora got to loving tales from hearing the townsfolk swap stories at Joe Clark's general store. Oftentimes, Mama sent her over to fetch a little sugar or salt, and Zora would stall, make a 10-minute errand last an hour just to overhear tales, like how that trickster Brer Rabbit always got the best of Brer Fox. Only things pulled her away was Mama's calling, Zora, if you don't come here, you better. Let me tell y'all how come we got squinch owls. You know, old Marster had old maid sister that never been married. That's the reason the dog is mad with the rabbit now, 'cause he fooled the dog. Y'all been telling and lying about these varmints, but you ain't yet spoke about the high chief boss of all the world, which is the lion. When there were no errands to run and Zora couldn't get an earful of tales, she'd make up her own. She fashioned dolls from scraps she found. A loose doorknob became Reverend Doorknob. The do not touch Pears scented soap was carved into Mr. Sweet Smell. Ears of corn were hewn into Miss Corn Shuck and Miss Corn Cob. Zora had stories to tell, and stories needed characters. Hello, Reverend Doorknob. Smelling good, Mr. Sweet Smell. Thank y'all kindly. Hey, hello to you, Miss Corn Shuck. And when Mama sent Zora and her stories out of the house, Zora perched herself atop their gate post, calling out to travelers, don't you want me to go a piece of the way with you? If a car stopped, Zora climbed right in. She'd have those people laughing like she was storytelling on Joe Clark's porch herself. Then, half a mile or so later, she'd pop out and stroll on home. A new way of catching a ride, huh? Telling stories. Now, back then, some folks called storytelling telling lies. And if Zora's preaching papa got home from church and caught her spouting them, he'd give chase lightning quick. Even Zora's grandmother aimed to sting her backside, but never could, not with Mama's arms stretched out wide as tree limbs. Truth was, Mama approved of Zora's storytelling. She didn't fancy the idea of her children tilling land, so she encouraged Zora to jump at the sun. You might not land on the sun, but at least you get off the ground. There's old Dad, and she's hightailing it out. Well, fact is, Zora clung to those words tighter than Brer Rabbit would have clung to Brer Fox would have clung to Brer Rabbit. If he'd ever been able to catch him, Zora needed him too, because one day Mama got herself a chest cold and that she wouldn't get better. Then, one September evening, Mama closed her eyes for the last time. Zora and her sister and brothers were so sobbing-hearted that even the house seemed to mourn. 2 days later, Zora's only sister and an older brother headed back to school. Papa was already on the road preaching. His voice seemed manageable, but his tale-telling girl was too much for him to worry about. So, 2 weeks after the funeral, he shipped Zora off to Florida Baptist Academy boarding school. Woo! Send her away to school. Zora dug her nose in books, intent on reaching the sun. It was what Mama had always taught her to do, after all. Then her papa got a new wife who was stingier than a peacock. Zora's stepmother tight-fisted their money. School fees went unpaid, and back to Eatonville Zora went. To hear Zora tell it back home, the walls were gummy with gloom, with her little brothers in ragged, dirty clothes. This was wrong, and Zora made it known. Fussing and fighting commenced from the kitchen to the gatepost. Finally, her stepmother pointed to the door, and out stomped 14-year-old Zora down the rusty road. Wow. She got kicked out, apparently. Though friends spared a pallet for sleeping, there wasn't time for Zora to be pondering the capers of Brer Rabbit. She had to earn her keep, but she was better at storytelling than holding a job. She was fired from May jobs for reading the employer's books instead of cleaning. She up and quit babysitting her oldest brother's children when he quit on his promise to let her go back to school. For 12 long years, she traveled from job to job, from Florida to Baltimore, in and out of schools. Zora was miserable, except for when she spooned out Eatonville trickster tales to whoever'd sop 'em up. Sakes alive, folks were hungry. The sun, however, was getting antsy waiting on Zora, so he called down saying, "Ain't you supposed to be meeting me up here?" Reckon Zora was getting antsy too. How was Zora to jump all the way to Old Big Yellow? By doing what made her happiest. And Zora was happiest at school and hearing those stories. In Baltimore, 26-year-olds couldn't go to public school for free, so Zora told a tale of her own. She chopped her age to 16, then plunked herself down in a high school classroom. Even though she had a lot less money than the other students, Zora walked through the halls like her shoes were lined with gold. That girl was back in school. Whee! The sun waited patiently for 2 more years until she graduated, then called out, "Jump, Zora!" How's she going to jump? Sun says, "Jump." So she did, to Howard University. The best part, all those years of tearing around Joe Clark's and making up tales out of corn husks paid off. She shared her tales with the director of the Stylus, the college's literary club, and was offered membership. Zora not only wrote for their magazine, but the door opened to other events where she met successful writers like W.E.B. Du Bois, who wrote a book she loved, The Souls of Black Folk. Soon she got to thinking, I want to be a famous author too. So Zora jumped again. She got herself a typewriter and her fingers got tapping, and all her Eatonville memories poured into them pages. One of her stories was even about a little girl sitting atop a gate post. Was it about her? I betcha. Well, Zora loved her school and she found she loved writing more. And at that time, new writers who wanted to get published went to one place. So in January 1945, Zora made her way to New York City. As in Eatonville, folks welcomed her. During the day, she listened to book discussions at the library or lectures at the YMCA, which you did during the day. You should do at night. Come nighttime, Zora would be swinging in Harlem, where Count Basie or Fats Waller pounded on the piano and folks danced the Charleston. Once her feet were too sore for one more kick, Zora would hold court surrounded by writers like Anna Bontemps, Fannie Hurst, and her best pal, Langston Hughes. Langston's poetry jumped at the sun for sure. If Zora's stories held the ears of these great writers, surely her mama was right that Zora could really reach the sun too. You know, God did not make folks all at once. He made folks sort of in his spare time. For instance, one day he called everybody and gave out feet and eyes. And another time he gave out toenails. You know, all the animals was having a ball in the pine woods. The dog said he'd be trumpet in the band, and the horse and the frog and the mockingbird all be there to help, but they didn't have no bass drum. One way back yonder, before the stars fell, all the animals used to talk just like people. Boy, she could write some whoppers. Some tales. That spring, Zora jumped again. She mailed a handful of stories to a magazine's literary contest. Her words were so alive that the judges saw the moss on the trees, smelled the sawgrass in the Everglades, and heard the men chanting on the railroad. Then those judges began chanting Zora's name. Honorable mention, short story, Black Death by Zora Neale Hurston. Honorary mention, play, Spears by Zora Neale Hurston. Second place, fiction award, Spunk by Zora Neale Hurston. Second place, drama award, Color Struck by Zora Neale Hurston. Oh, look at all the awards she got. Fancy College heard about Zora's storytelling and offered her a mission. But if there was one thing Zora had learned, it was that school was expensive, and she didn't have 2 nickels to rub together. Zora was doubtful. Jump, Zora, Mama's words sang. And when you know it, her jumping paid off. Bernard College offered her a scholarship. It wasn't much, but friends helped out, and Zora put together a collection of tales from home called the Eatonville Anthology and earned a bit from that. For the first time in all her schooling, Zora was able to stay in school. For her very last semester, Zora had one big project left to do, field work for her anthropology class. Anthropology is the study of humans and their behavior. Her professor, Dr. Boas, suggested that Zora collect Negro folklore. Now, folklore includes stories and beliefs passed down from generation to generation, exactly like the ones told at Joe Clark's. Shucks, Dr. Boas might as well have asked Zora to go down to Joe Clark's for some sugar. And that Brer Fox threw Brer Rabbit right into the thicket. There was this fellow named John Henry. Now, he wasn't no ordinary man, you see. Just 'cause he drank up his water? She had heard Brer Rabbit's adventures, and why, though, Squinch Owl screeched, since she was a baby. How many lumps of sugar had she fetched to hear about High John the Conqueror? Or how many times had her mama called, Zora? Of course, she'd go collect some stories. What's a squinch owl? Now, it's a loud screeching owl that once was. Want to hear more about it? Look it up. Catching all those stories. Zora looked up to the sky. I'm coming for you, son. And that sun smiled down. I know. Zora drove into Eatonville, and even after she'd been gone for 22 years, the townsfolk still recognized her. Well, if it ain't Zora Hurston. They rattled off questions before she could even answer them. You going to stay for a while? Several months. Where you going to stay? I reckon. What you up to? Come to. Zora at last sat on Joe Clark's store porch. The townsfolk are gingerbread. Ate gingerbread, drank buttermilk, and commenced to woofing about John and the Frog, the man who went to heaven, and Jack and the Devil. As the menfolk plucked up their guitar strings, it said that even the moon dipped lower to get an earful of tales. Even the moon wanted to hear her stories. Outside of Eatonville, folks zipped their lips to the meddling stranger with the notebook and northern accent. To ease their mind, Zora spun a believable tale about her own self. I'm a bootlegger running from the law. The folks then trusted she wasn't just snooping and offered her a treasure of folklore. Went down to the river, heard a mighty racket, nothing but the full bullfrog pulling off his jacket. It was a man, and he was so big and fat till he went to whip his little boy for something. The little boy run up under his papa's belly and hid up under there for 6 months. And telling this lie on the gator. Well, the gator was a pretty white varmint with coal black eyes. So one day he was laying up on the grass in a marsh, sunning himself and sleeping, when Brer Rabbit came busting across the marsh and run right over Brer Gator. It's hearing all these stories. Zora's college project became one of her biggest jumps. Even after she graduated, she didn't stop collecting tales. She trekked all the way from Alabama to New Orleans, to Haiti and the Bahamas, gathering as much folklore as a leopard has spots. And then She stops jumping long enough to take her notebooks and tapes and find herself a home in Ugali, Florida. Wow, so all over the country testing tales. She ended up in Florida. There on her porch with papers spread out, Zora took her biggest jump ever. She set up her typewriter and her fingers got to tapping all those tales into books. Then she tapped up her very own stories and made her own books too. Zora, like her mama always dreamed, reached the sun. And now when you open those books, it's as if you were visiting on Zora's porch, just like she porch visited all those years ago. She'd have offered you a chair and filled you full of High John the Conqueror tales or told you the talking mule lies she got from the Florida railroad workers, because she'd woof about that old Brer Rabbit and Brer Fox too. And that sun would have beamed down mighty pleased, just a listening. So I hope you enjoyed the story of Jump to the Sun. And then it's got some additional reading. It's got some notes about that the author makes about Zora. So I hope you enjoyed this story. I hope you jump to the sun yourself. And then the next story I'm going to read is Change Sings, a children's anthem. Words were written by Amanda Gorman, the poem that she read. And pictures are by Lauren Long. The poem she wrote and read. Okay. I can hear change humming in its loudest, proudest song. I don't fear change coming, and so I sing along. I screamed with the skies, or red and blue streamers. I dream with the cries of tried and true dreamers. Dr. Martin Luther King. I'll chant. I'm a chant that rises and rings. There is hope where my change sings. Though some don't understand it, those windmills of mystery, I sing with all the planet and its hills of histories. I hum with 100 hearts, each of us lifting a hand. I use my strengths and my smarts, take a knee to make a stand. I'm bright as the light each day brings. There is love where my change sings. I show others tolerance, though it may take some courage. I don't make a taller fence, but fight to build a better bridge. talk not only of distances, from where and how we came. I also walk our differences to show we are the same. I am a movement that roars and springs. There's a wave where my change sings. Change sings where? There, inside of me, because I'm the change I want to see. Is change inside of you? Does it sing in you? As I grow, it grows like seeds. I am just what the world needs. We are, aren't we? I'm the voice where freedom rings. You're the love your bright heart brings. We are the waves starting to spring, for we are the change we sing. We're what the world is becoming, and we know it won't be long. We all hear change strumming. Won't you sing along? Do you hear change strumming? Are you going to sing along? Okay, so hope you enjoyed this book. I can hear change humming in its loudest, proudest song. I don't fear change coming, so I sing along. So I hope you enjoyed those two stories. This is a hybrid program, so you can join us in person or you can watch it on Facebook Live. So this is Bonnie Bolduff wishing you a happy and healthy day. Goodbye.